For a leaked autopsy report and the death of Freddie Gray in Baltimore has now turned white hot. News reports say the autopsy shows how Freddie died of a, quote, single high-energy impact injury like you'd get from diving in a shallow pool. Since the leaks, legal and medical experts have fought over whether the details help the accused cops or do not. Plus, the prosecutor and the defense attorneys have now waged a public war over who leaked this thing and why. Joining me tonight with the breaking news, Gray family attorney Judge Billy Murphy. He's one of the few people who we can confirm has actually seen at least excerpts from this thing. Billy, thank you for being here. So you've seen
pleasure,
not the whole autopsy report, but what from it?
Well, I've seen the written report, and the written report is supposed to have, in order to be complete, lots of other things. The photographs of the body, the medical records, the witness statements, for example, what the cops said and what eyewitnesses have said, the videos upon which the report bases its partial or partially bases its conclusion.
Okay, so you've seen the conclusions, but not sort of the supporting evidence that would back
correct.
it up. So who gave it to you?
Well, I'm entitled to get it because I represent the family.
So you got it from the DA?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any idea who leaked it to the Baltimore Sun?
I have a suspicion. And if you go through the list of possibilities, we didn't do it. The prosecutor didn't do it. So that leaves the defense lawyers, who I think are honorable enough not to have done it. And then there are the police, who I don't think have behaved with honor in this whole thing. The
defense lawyers say they don't have it. And they seem ticked off that others have it, that you have it and the Baltimore Sun has it. And they don't have it. I mean, is that strange that you would have it as, you know, the family of Freddie Gray, you represent him, but they represent the cops charged and they didn't get it?
No, there's a statute that gives us the right to have it. And the state's attorney can hold it back for good cause and then release it at a certain point. And that's how we got it, but we didn't get the whole thing because they don't have to give us the whole thing yet.
On the conclusion here, some lawyers have come out today and said this autopsy report, it may support something, but it doesn't support second-degree murder charges. It shows a man who was flailing in the back of this van. It shows a cop who stopped a couple of times and at the earliest saw an injured person between the third and the fourth stops. And that, they argue, does not amount to murder. At most, it amounts to noncompliance with police procedure.
If you're telling me that the defense said that today?
No. Just analysts and also some forensic pathologists have weighed in and say that they don't think this helps the prosecution.
I think it's irresponsible to comment on an incomplete report, and that's why we've avoided any such comment. And until you see the entire report, you can be wrong because you have a single missing fact. And there is much to learn that is not yet available. So I don't think speculation is intelligent at this point. And it could also prejudice the administration of justice. You know, those of us who are interested in justice should be restraining ourselves about interpreting the evidence at this point. We don't have a clue about how much evidence the prosecutor has.
Got it.
We'll only know that when the trial begins.
We are hours away now from finding out because tomorrow's the deadline for her to reveal it. Judge, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Megyn.
Joining me now for more, Arthur Idala, who's a Fox News legal analyst and president of the Brooklyn Bar Association, so fancy, and Mark Eiglarz, who's a former prosecutor, now criminal defense attorney. Here's the thing. This lays out that Freddie Gray was flailing around in the back of that van, that the officer stopped, checked on him, that Alicia White, she didn't show up until the fourth stop. Okay, so this is only one stop away from the end of the journey. They are charging this woman with causing his death, How do they get there? You tell me, Arthur, whether they have overcharged.
Oh, they've definitely overcharged, and I would like to compliment Judge Murphy because he did a great job and clearly a real professional. But Megyn, I have to be honest with you, I kind of felt like he was playing the role of the defense attorney. Those are the things I say when the evidence is not too good against my client.
Oh, good to know. We'll remember that in the future.
Let's not speculate. Let's show restraint before we rush to judgment. Those are things that usually a defense attorney says when the evidence is overwhelming against them. Here, agree with him. I think the cops probably did release that report. You know why, Megyn? It helps them. They've been under siege for so long. It's like, hey, look, we finally got the paperwork. We didn't kill anybody.
They say they don't have it. Their defense attorneys say we don't have it.
I'm not the defense attorney. I'm talking about police. The police who probably are able through their contacts to get their hands on it. They're finally standing up for themselves and saying we didn't do anything wrong.
Here's what it shows, Mark, that this guy was under the influence of narcotics, that he was misbehaving in the back of that police van, that they had to stop and put the additional shackles on him, that they placed him down on his belly. The medical examiner concludes that if he had stayed down on his belly, he would not have suffered a life-ending injury, but instead he got himself up, and that is what caused him to fall and hurt himself, and that the person who put him in the van should have foreseen that he was going to get himself up in this tiny space, and that they would stop short, and that he would get hurt to the point of dying, and that when the van stopped after the fourth time, Sergeant Alicia White, when she showed up to help her partner on the case subdue this man, should have noticed immediately that he was not only hurt, but hurt so badly that death was around the corner, and because she didn't, she's guilty and he's guilty, him of second-degree murder and her of manslaughter. Really? They can't talk now.
Quite a stretch. Yeah, no question. I think that this case is overcharged. But that being said, Judge Murphy does make some very good points. We do not have all of the evidence at all. But even in a light most favorable to the prosecution, we have never heard that the driver intentionally slammed on his brakes at all. The problem, however, Megyn, and anyone, no matter what side you're on, I still haven't heard anyone answer this question. Why didn't they buckle him in violation of their policy?
Well,
now,
you
again,
tell me, Arthur, you tell me, because the autopsy report details the yelling and banging causing the van to rock that was going on by Freddie Gray, and these cops are likely to argue that they weren't going to lean over a disruptive prisoner to put a belt on, because we've already heard from other Baltimore cops that can lead to biting and other bad situations for the police.
But Megyn, you also told us just past Tuesday night that it wasn't even a policy until a few days before. And my understanding is it was a policy, that was buried. Arthur. That was buried in. No, it was. I think within 2 weeks before they came down with an edict. When someone's in the back, they must be buckled in. And it
for
was
this very
reason,
Arthur.
But it's not murder.
But there's no proof that it was communicated to these particular officers. There was no proof whatsoever that it was communicated to them.
It's still not murder.
All right, I got to leave it at that.
That's
Good
true.
to see you both.
It's going to be tough to argue that side, though, that they didn't know.
Got to go. Well, we also have new details tonight on how 2 convicted killers may have escaped from a New York prison, as we learn more about the second guard charged with aiding in their escape. Wait until you hear more about this guy. Brian Kilmeade's here with that. Plus, a bombshell today in the investigation into the IRS targeting of conservative groups. Right after this break, how that agency is now accused of destroying evidence that was under subpoena. And also our breaking news tonight on whether Hillary Clinton was lying when she said this.
I responded right away and provided all my emails that could possibly be work-related, which totaled roughly 55,000 printed pages, even though I